I was asked, guided to talk about belief and choices and why we make the choices to live how we live and think we need to accept how we live. So what are those beliefs? What is a belief? Because it runs our lives, we act according to it, we defend it, it can divide, it can heal, it can do everything on the scale. But what are they? We all have beliefs. People have wars over beliefs. So what are they? They're simply, not simple, they can be simple. It's something that we choose to be true. It's either a fact, a person, a conviction. Doesn't even need a fact. It's simply something that we decide to believe in as the truth, as our truth. Then we can find people that believe the same, or we've been taught by a group of people that is what it is. But a belief is not depending on any kind of shred of truth. So if I think I'm the best thing since sliced bread, I believe that. Of course, there's no scientific truth because there's never been a comparison between bread and Heike. But if I believe that, and nobody can budge me. So if I believe one thing and you believe another, my life will be attached to that and I will make choices accordingly. Why are those beliefs so important? Because they determine everything we do and don't do. Our beliefs determine our thoughts. They determine our feelings with that because the one forms the other. Then the thoughts and the feelings determine our actions, which then determine the next outcome, which then determines how we experience life. And all of those will be based on what we believe. If I believe I'm not a worthy person, I believe I have to prove who I am. I have to prove that I'm good enough to have a good job. I need to prove that I'm worthy of having a functioning relationship. I will think that. I will feel that. And I will put actions into place where I constantly have to prove myself because that's what I believe. So it doesn't matter if you tell me, but Heike, you're very worthy. If I don't believe that, you can tell me that till the cows come home. And as much as you can give me factual reason that is actually not there, doesn't matter. As long as I believe that, I can literally change my DNA on it to have physical responses to it. That's the power of belief. Power can heal, power can destroy. Belief is something also we very often don't question. We just go with it. Half the time we don't even know where it's coming from. How often do you hear people say, it's always been that way. My family always done it like that. We do it like that. Who is we? It's always been like that. So who started it? I'm just like that. When did you start that? You weren't born doing this, thinking that, acting like that, not allowing that. When did it start? Whose is it? Do you still want it? Does it feed you? Does it deplete you? Does it bring you joy? Does it make you happy? A good one is, I'm such a people pleaser. How does that work for you? No, I'm constantly exhausted. I'm this and that. And I'm like, oh, so how does it work for you? Oh, but I'm always been that way. So you're happy? No, I'm not. So why is it there? I've always been that way. No, you haven't. Show me one toddler that's a people pleaser. One. It doesn't. Toddlers are born knowing their worth and they insist, and rightfully so, that the world is there for them only. Because that's the truth. We are all born worthy. And the best way to debunk that myth that we're not is find a toddler. Because that's the purest energy, how we are all born. Completely worthy, completely like, why wouldn't the world be there for me? They do not in any way or form question the worthiness. If anything, there might be that they might think that the servants might be a bit slow in reaction around them. But other than that, it is complete, the purest form of who we are. The whole belief system, what we are and what not, after that comes, how the conditioning comes in and how the environment around us is and what we start believing about ourselves and what people around us, whatever it might be along the way. But when we are born, that isn't even there. The trouble starts when the brain develops. But the purest form is worthiness, is love. Because that's where we come from. That's who we are. We are love in 3D motion. The more we are here, and the more we are exposed to things, experience things, whatever might go on, the more we get a bit confused with the thing. The more we question it. The more we start believing the one thing or the other. So we need to question those things. Some are good, some are not. But at the end of the day, does it come from love? And when I say, does it come from love? I don't just mean for others, it should include you. There's no use you being Mother Teresa to everybody else, and you're sitting at home, falling apart, being on antidepressants. Your whole digestive system is buggered up. You don't know how to sleep. And you feel isolated. But hey, as long as my family is happy, I'm happy. Well, clearly not. Clearly not. We must stop lying to ourselves because it's damaging. If we can recognize all these wonderful worthiness and all of that in other people, how are we honoring the universe, the energy, if we exclude ourselves? It can't be, it's like, oh no, universe doesn't make mistakes, so they're all worthy. I'm up for discussion, but they're worthy. Well, either it doesn't make mistakes, and then I'm included, or I've just kind of need to adjust where I'm at with that, because it can't be they are and I'm not. Again, look at the toddler. Put 10 toddlers next to each other. That's the purest form. And it doesn't even matter which toddler in which country, because that's the purest form. So how do we, like when we look at that, I work a lot with people from all angles, from all backgrounds, and it doesn't matter. That's what I always say. It's like, it really doesn't matter what we do, what we don't do, what cars we drive, what jobs we have, what the circumstances are. We're all human beings, and we all have the same needs, and we all want the same stuff. We want to belong, we want to belong, we want to be loved, and we want to be seen. I don't care if it comes in an Armani suit or in flip-flops and shorts. What's in it is the same stuff. Just some of us believe that it's our birthright and act accordingly and allow that with inclusion of themselves, and others believe that they need to hustle for it, that they need to prove it, that they have to somehow even compete for it. And if you look at the lives they live, they have created lives that exactly mirrors that. Not because they had to, but because they matched their life to their belief system. It cannot be any other way. It cannot be any other way. The good thing about it is, anything we created the first version of, we can create the second version of, if we want to. If we want to. Now, the very, very next thought that would normally come now is, Heike, but that's not easy. Well, who said it's got to be easy? How easy is it to be unhappy? How easy is it to be unhealthy? How easy is it to be stuck? How easy is it to be constantly dimming your light because you have to wait for others to come your way, that you feel a specific way because you outlaid that to others. None of this is easy. You're more used to it, but it ain't easy. How badly do you want to feel different? And how willing are you to accept your worthiness? Because sometimes when we sit too long in a space of unworthiness or questioning it, worthiness seems to be an overwhelming, very overwhelming concept to accept that. Not that anyone needs to give it to us, that we accept it. It's there either way. It's not something that someone needs to hand to us, give us permission for, we need to write a test for. There came a point where we believed we're not, to a certain extent. The belief does not need a fact. So you changing it doesn't need a fact either. It needs the willingness to change and accept it. And one of the main tools to do that is grace. Now, this whole concept of grace is like another big thing. And we can make any topic as big or small as we want to, but I believe in rather practical things, because that's what life is about. We can read huge books about great theories, and then we go like, great, fabulous book. How I'm going to do that between 8 and 5 every single day during school runs. Because that's kind of the life we live, and there's great concepts, but if I can't get it into my life, that it becomes part of it until it becomes second nature, there is no use to have great knowledge and not being able to bring it in. Grace is simply saying where I am, who I am, what I am, and whichever circumstance I am, I fully accept myself in that. And it is not just okay, but that's where I need to be. Grace is saying, well, I might not have all done it right. I promise you nobody has. I don't care how they're showing it on social media and which card comes or whatever else. Nobody's done it all right. Some cover it up better than others, but nobody has done it all right, because none of us is here to get it all right. Our job is not to get it all right. The fact that we hear human for means we're not supposed to get it right. So this whole perfection nonsense is like you coming here to be human and you're setting yourself up to be perfect, which is not human. So why on earth would you do that to yourself? It's kind of like I'm here human and I can only be okay if I'm a horse. How on earth is that going to work? You're supposed to be human. You're supposed to grow and learn and live and expand through humanness. Because with grace, you're kind of like, of course I'm not perfect, but I'm awesomely flawsome. Let's see if your flawsome matches mine. Let's see if we go like, oh, I done that too. That was epic. I won't do it again, but it was epic. Yes, I've done that too. Guess what? Because we are human. Yes, there was times where I really thought like, way, I hope my kids never figure that one out, but they most likely will. But then it's okay that when they come to me that I can say, I've been there. And as much as I can't stop you from doing these things, but no, I've got the space for you. I won't judge you on it. I've got you in that. That is like where we cannot just hold others in the space of saying, even when you feel you're at your ugliest, at your worst, and you're most unworthy, I'm holding you in your worthiness because that's who we are. But it got to include ourselves. So when we're in a space where we feel like, oh, I've really cocked this one up. I was a horrible mother, a horrible this, like, this inner self-talk. If we would have to say out loud how we talk to ourselves, oh my word. Half the time, we wouldn't even speak to people we don't like that way. You wouldn't want your loved ones to speak to themselves that way, would you? We're not even aware of it. Yet that inner self-talk determines not just how we feel, but it literally determines our physical being. It activates sicknesses, energy levels, vitality, things like clearness of thinking, or the opposite, brain fog. It either lets us sleep or not. How many people have problems with falling off to sleep? Just 2, yeah, right. Thanks for being brave enough to show it, but I would say it's about at least 75% in this room. And why is that? Because the brain doesn't switch off. Because when the brain doesn't switch off, the brain is an alert system. That means we don't trust who we are in this life, because otherwise the brain wouldn't have to be in alert. So when we accept ourselves with grace and say, like, it's okay, you are where you are, the way you are, because you're showing up. But you need to show up for yourself and others, not just for others. Because showing up is what you're here for. But show up with grace. Because the opposite of grace is, and this is then when it becomes a bit unbalanced, the opposite of grace is shame. I show up for myself with judgment. I show up with myself with unkindness. I show up with myself, for myself and others, with what's good enough and not good enough. And with that, I will cement my belief of not enough. And I will have to hustle more for my worthiness, and I'm going to try to find it everywhere else but here. Because here's where I question it. So I'm looking for my approval there. And then it's like either the next job, the next relationship, and the next acknowledgement. There's nothing wrong of having all those things, but it should not be the acknowledgement where you find your worthiness. So the opposite of grace is shame. That's when we start proving things. And when we start believing that, we start digging holes for ourselves. Because shame says, because I'm flawed, I'm unacceptable. And then we don't want people to know that way, and we don't want them to figure this out. Hopefully they don't stumble over that I don't really know that, and I hope they don't know that I can't do this. And then we start in creating versions of us that's not truly us. And besides that, it's exhausting. Again, it gets us constantly on alert, thinking and assuming what people might think or might not think. Darn. And again, we spend our entire energy in other people's assumption places. Plus, we normally give people way too much credit for thinking, especially about us. But this is like where we dissect ourselves, and it's belief. Because now I believe it's up to them. If they don't approve of what I say or what I do, how I show up, what I wear, whatever, I'm not good enough. Because that's what I believe now. Instead of saying, I'm just going to show up and I'm going to do what I can do. Some will like it, some will not. And hey, I'm just going to go for it. It's always going to be a mixed bag because that's people. And I'm one of them because I don't like everything and I don't dislike everything. And that's okay. But I can show up with grace for myself. And if half of you don't like what I say, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to. That's more than okay. But that's showing up with grace. And if you get one word that you're okay with, and the others just simply get you to like, oh, I want to think about it, perfect. Absolutely perfect. But include yourself with showing up with grace. Because grace says, even though I'm flawed, as I should be, I'm totally worthy and cherished. I'm not less worth due to that. It actually, if anything, means I'm doing my job. I'm learning, I'm moving, I'm expanding. It means exactly I'm doing my job. Absolutely. But how I believe, what I believe about myself will determine if this journey is going to be one of major struggle nonstop, or if I go like, oopsie, let me just deal with that. Must not always be nice, but it doesn't fundamentally dig holes for myself. So grace meets us where we are with approval. Doesn't mean we can't tweak things, but it will fundamentally still approve of who we are, where we are, and allocate our worthiness to us. It will still elevate us. Shame, on the other hand, will definitely help us dig holes. I've done that wrong. I've done it again. And shame goes like, told you. So you better don't do that again. You don't do that. And how do you dare even applying for the job and so on? Shame helps you dig bigger holes, cause more trouble, have more anxiety, alertness. The amount of medication nowadays that's prescribed, even for teenagers and young ones, for anxiety and depression, is insane. Insane. Because of all of this, what we believe and what we don't believe. At the crux of it all is what we believe or don't believe. All of it. Grace means that all our mistakes, so-called mistakes, I call them learning speed bumps. People say mistakes is bad. No, mistakes or learning speed bumps means that you're going somewhere. It means that you're moving. That you're not standing still of fear to get it wrong, so you're rather not moving. And then you go like, and 20 years later, I should have, I could have. Because you didn't allow yourself to make mistakes and learn and expand. Have grace. That is your birthright. There's nothing to prove. Fact that you're here means you already passed. You wouldn't be here if you wouldn't have. It's that simple. And we see that in others, but we kind of like, it's there but not here. So give yourself grace for yourself and others, for different opinions, for not always having the answers. You don't always want to have the answers because everybody's going to knock on your door, so you do not always want to have the answer. You don't. And sometimes you really just want to look up things and find out interesting stuff. If you have all the answers, then you never got a question to ask. How boring is that? You don't have to. Don't hold yourself to that. Give yourself and others grace for the making the mistakes. Some are glorious. Some are not so much, but they're learning speed bumps. Give yourself grace as you learn to do better, to know better, and to adjust. You wouldn't shout at a 5-year-old for learning how to walk, and then it falls on his bum, and you go like, stupid are you? No, he's learning. So you're going to put him on his legs, and you help him balance. How is that any different? How is that any different? It isn't. Give yourself grace for doing the best that you can. You're always looking at what we're not doing, where we're not yet, instead of like, can we just take a second from where we came from? And we're still standing? We're not. Just, I haven't done that yet. I'm not here yet. It's always the not yet. Not there. Not like, last year I was there and I thought I wouldn't be here. And I would have given my left leg to be here. Now I'm here. I'm not even acknowledging it anymore. Now I'm not there. Have you just been here and now and acknowledge that? So far, all of your survival rate is 100%. Well done. Did anybody acknowledge that? It's always what's not instead of what is. Give yourself the grace and others to just acknowledge that. It's also how we get through life with way more, with less stress to start with, healthier as well, because the body reacts to that. Every time we believe that, we stamp that into our body. We stamp that into our organs, into our systems. This is like most people, what I hear a lot, like for months and months and months, actually since Corona, I don't have energy. I'm feeling flat all the time because we're constantly in survival. We're constantly like on high alert. Instead of saying, I am exhausted, I'm just going to sit down. We've become human doers and not beings. Who is happy with just relaxing, chilling, doing nothing, and not even letting the brain go off for the next to-do list? Who can actually do that? That is giving yourself grace for resting, for nurturing, and not feeling, I have to prove my worthiness with being busy. Because if I'm not busy, I'm wasting my time of being. No, it's the opposite. It's kind of like saying filling petrol into my car is a waste of time. Is it? No, yet we tell others, take a rest, you look stressed. There's them and there's me. Give yourself grace. And most of all, show up for yourself when it's hard, when you like yourself the least, when you feel down, when you feel everything is not what it should be, when you don't like yourself, when you look in the mirror in the morning, you go like, ugh. This is when you need to have the most grace for you. This is when you say, like, might not be the best version of myself today, but I'm still going to love you and I'm still going to pull you through this. And if I have to pull you by the nostrils, but I will, because I know you're worthy of it. I will show up for you. I will take you by the hand. I will walk you through this because you're worthy. Because you are. Just like you with your 5-year-old, not allowed to go like, and the 5-year-old goes, I don't feel like I'm horrible. I'm just like, yeah, you're horrible. Just bugger off and disappear. Of course you wouldn't. Why on earth would you do that to yourself? Why would you do that? Start investing with grace, not with shame. Because then we go like, oh, I look horrible. Yeah, I should have done this, that, and I shouldn't have skipped gym, and I shouldn't have had the chocolate bar last night. We start hammering. We come with shame. We come like, oh, horror to you. And now I'm going to be depressed the whole day. And obviously you get to the office and somebody's birthday. It's like, hey, you want some cake? You look like, oh my God, no, guilt trip. This, that. And then we're going to avoid that person because she has the cake. So she's evil. So we have this whole kind of thing that we do stuff that's absolutely not necessary because now we avoid it. Now a person that we actually like, now I'm ducking her because I can't tell her I'm not eating it because I don't want to explain my guilt trip either because it doesn't sound cool. So I can't tell her her cake is horrible because it isn't. I actually want it. But so I just need to duck her. So she's going to think, I don't know what's wrong with Heike today. So she's actually looking to me like, Heike, you okay? Like, I'm all good to busy. So like then she thinks there's something wrong with me and her. So we have this whole kind of thing. It's all only because Heike believes she is not good enough for something. And it became everybody else's problem because it will influence the people around us. It will. It will in every area. So meet yourself and others with grace. And at the end of the day, grace is a gift. Most of all, our birthright as well. But most of all, it's life is a gift. And we must stop treating it like it's a punishment system. Life is not supposed to be endured or suffered through. Yes, there will be times that are a bit harder than others. But life itself is a gift. And how we experience it is according to what we believe to be true about life and ourselves. Most about ourselves, because we will meet life with that belief and we will create our experience on that. So meet yourself with grace and with love. And most of all, allow yourself to show up how you are. You don't always have to have your stuff together. If you're having a down day, a sad day, or whatever, allow yourself to show up as such. And it is okay. There's going to be days that you're up and there's going to be days that you are down. You don't owe anybody to only be one version for however many, 80, 90, whatever many years you are here. You don't. You don't. You don't owe anybody anything. But you can allow yourself to have grace. And with that, you allow everybody else around you to do the same. It's a gift. So when we hold ourselves to be something else than what we feel right now, we feel our true version isn't good enough. It's always good enough, always being good enough. We are here because we were deemed by the universe. Whoever you think runs it or doesn't run it. They all conspired and all decided, whoever that all is in your mind, that we need to be here, every single one of us, in exactly the version that we are here for. And again, the toddlers, they got that assignment right. And as we go, it gets a bit distorted. And then what we invest in, we get out. Bring some grace to your life. Why? Because it's yours and you deserve it. It's always been there. To yourself and others. Because worthiness is not something you need to hustle for, need to earn. It's always been yours. Just allow it back in. Thank you.